Hello, it's me, Karina. Welcome back to my Amazon FBA YouTube channel. So in today's video, we're going to be talking about Amazon FBA profits and actual realistic profits. How much are you really expecting to make of take-home money that you can either save or spend after all of the expenses? And what are the chances and the risks of you actually running into cash flow issues? Yes, they do exist. There are ways to avoid this. I made a cash flow video actually talking about how to prevent cash flow kind of problems with your products. But the thing with Amazon, it isn't really kind of a walk in the park how all these screenshots make it seem. It is one of the easier business models just because it's proven, it's tried, it's tested, it's very low risk to kind of get started with it. However, there are still issues that can arise. And one of the issues is people showing their sales numbers, and a lot of the times, most of the times, the revenue doesn't equal the profits. Actually, they rarely ever do. When you see revenue, a lot of sellers or new people with Amazon think that that's what the person's actually taking home because it looks great. It looks like $100,000 a month in sales is something crazy, and that's it. You're making $1.2 million a year. You might as well just quit your job. But in reality, that's really not anywhere near how much the seller is taking home. And let me just keep in mind, let you know that the average Amazon profit margins are 20%. So a good rough estimate is whatever number they're showing you, just take 20% of that, and that is going to be the amount that they're taking home. Now, this is not always the case. Of course, a lot of the products do have a higher profit margin, such as 40% or 30%, but we're talking about after all PPC expenses are taken out, all the cost of goods and the shipping and the PPC ads and everything else, that's kind of what you're looking at to take home. Now, why do people think that revenue equals profit? Because they are just not that familiar with the business model. But the scary thing is some markets actually do have lower than 20%, and that's where people run into issues. A lot of the times people are actually selling and they're losing money. So although it looks like they have a revenue, it's not profit at all. Sometimes they're just purely breaking even. Other times they're literally in the negatives because the screenshot doesn't show the expenses. For example, if an item is heavy, it doesn't even necessarily have to be large, but it could be medium size and slightly heavy, that's a big shipping fee. That's a bigger shipping fee to ship it over to the US, and then also for them to actually pack it and ship it over to the customer. It's going to be more expensive. If you're pricing your product higher, of course the fee is going to be higher because Amazon takes about 15 to 20% of your item fee as well. So that kind of increases your cost up there, and that's not shown. Also, what's not shown is how are people ranking and launching their products. So before, in the past, everybody would launch it using a giveaway service, but we all know that doesn't work as well. So how do we do it? What I recommend you do is to do this entire thing low risk, which means ordering a small MOQ, which means having the ability to find products in those less competition markets, which means ranking that product is going to be much, much, much easier. And if you're interested in how to find these products, what types of markets they are, to look over my shoulder as I find these markets, I have the plclub.com. It's the original private label club for FBA sellers. You can try it, a trial version. It has so many amazing things, such as a product validator, so you don't make any mistakes. You can just check it down below or go to the plclub.com and download, you sign up for the trial there. It's very, very affordable. I believe in low risk both in education and also in the kind of launching of products. So that's one way to launch your product. But again, that's not shown in the ads. Some people are really desperate because they have picked a product that is not doing well. So maybe they're running PPC ads on it and they're getting actual sales, but the actual downturn is that they're losing money because their ACoS is so tremendously high. Yeah, they got a sale for, let's say, $25, but maybe they spent $30 to get that sale. Now you are literally in the negatives. So that's something really to kind of avoid, right? So let's just take a look at some screenshots really quick. I'm just gonna go into Google right now and then type in Amazon sales screenshots, and we can kind of do a little estimation. I think this is always really fun. Sales screenshots. Okay, so these are all over the internet, right? You see them being posted, but again, take these with a grain of salt because that doesn't always translate. For example, this one is saying that they're making $21,000 in the last 7 days, but 20% of 21,000 is 4,200. So that's in a week they're making. That's what the screenshot. So I guess that's pretty good, right? It's $16,800 about in a month of profit they're making. But again, keep in mind they have to reinvest all of this into inventory, into ads. So depending on their profit margin, they really have to be careful because a lot of the times low price items, if it's, let's say, a $10 item or $12 item, those typically run into cash flow issues, which is what I wanted to get into next. Let's take another look at a screenshot. So this person is selling at $10,000 in the last 30 days, which means they're roughly kind of netting about $2,000 of profits, which isn't bad. But again, not for all products. If you have a low price product and you're selling it, you might have cash flow issues, as I mentioned, because you need to, the margins are really, really low. So for each sale you make, say you're making $3. That's $3 that you have to reinvest back into PPC. Then you have to reinvest it back into getting more goods back into your business. So what are you actually going to have left over in your pocket? However, if you have a more kind of, not, I wouldn't even say expensive, but if you go the premium route with your products, say instead of $10, you're up in that $25 to $30 range, or anything really above $20, kind of actually above $15, maybe like $17 to $30, really puts you in that green zone. If your product is, of course, lighter on the lighter side and doesn't cost too much to ship and isn't too large and expensive to produce, then you will have less cash flow issues just because your margin is so much higher. So you have a lot of fluff room. You have fluff room for PPC, which will give you a huge advantage over your competition. You have fluff room for buying more inventory, for reinvesting into other products. It's just honestly the better way to go. And you're going to get more profits because let's say your profit margin is $8 and then half of that $8, let's say you spent per item, per unit sold, $2 of the dollars you reinvest back into PPC, and the other $2 you reinvested into getting more inventory. Then the $4 you can take it, or let's say you take $2 and do the rest, like reinvest the other $2. It just gives you more cushion because you can actually pay yourself, or you can choose to reinvest all that in the business, but it really helps you out as opposed to kind of screaming for those low margin products, which I don't really enjoy. I think you're better off kind of going for something with more fluff room, and those products definitely are still around, and they're still out there. You just have to know how to find them, and I do show you exactly how to find them in my private label club, theplclub.com. So if you want to be part of our family, do go down and check it out below. But why am I even making this video, right? I mean, you just see these screenshots all the time, and I don't want to say that it's always 20% because that's not true, right? Some products are 30%, 40% margin. It really depends how you put it in front of the customer and how you frame it and what your real profit margins are. There is cash to be made in this business. I just don't want people to get confused and see kind of screenshots that might be misleading, that, okay, you're selling $100,000 worth of product, but how much is that actually changing your life? And by all means, $20,000 is quite nice if you can get that. Or if your profit margins are 30%, then that's $30,000 extra a month, and that's great. But the good thing about this model is that it's definitely scalable, and you can hit those numbers, but you can also hit those numbers starting out small. You don't have to go crazy and big. I just want you to be aware that when you see these screenshots, you have a more realistic opinion on the business model, that you don't think that I'm gonna reinvest every single dollar I have into this and make it work, and then I'm gonna like make $100,000 a month and be very happy, because that's really not the case. To make $100,000, you are going to have to sell a lot, and this is not just for the private label business. This model, this is for wholesale and for retail and for other, and even retail arbitrage. revenue does not equal profits. And maybe you've heard this, but sometimes people still see the screenshots and they are shocked at how much money the person is making, but in reality, they could be very well at a loss. Also keep that in mind, because a lot of products, I even had a product like this too, I liquidated it now, but it launched, everything was fine, but then the market kind of crashed, and I was selling it pretty much at break-even price because PPC was so expensive and the market was completely oversaturated. And obviously at that point, although my revenue numbers were inflated, there's really no reason to keep that product around if you're not making any money. You're just wasting your time, energy, effort on it while you could be sourcing other products. So if your product is not making you money and isn't profitable, there is no reason to keep it. So anyways, that's going to be it for the video. Do like it and subscribe for videos like this quite frequently. You see, I have literally hundreds. I have over 200 videos on this channel about Amazon FBA. That's a lot of videos. So anyways, I will see you all in my next video, and have an amazing day.